Hello everyone, my name is Bethany and this is my channel Thany's Thoughts. Today I'm going to be talking about my October wrap-up. And as you might have noticed, I also got a haircut over the weekend, so I lost 4 inches. Losing those 4 inches was the best. I have to make a confession. I'm still in the middle of Midnight Sun. I read about 100 pages just the other day. I have like 150 or 30, however, I think 150. I think it's 150 left. I just have to force myself to sit there and read it, and I don't want to. I might just include it for this wrap-up depending on when I post this, I might come back and just briefly talk about it. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Or I might save it for November. We'll see. But I did finish the other book that I had left over from September into October, which I'm very excited to have finished. And that was Starla C by Erin Morgenstern. That I rated 2.5 to 3.5 stars because I had conflicted feelings about it. I'll explain. This was about a book that was like a fantastical world where it's under the earth, where it's a starless sea, and but nobody goes there anymore. It used to be like glittering beautiful parties, but now it's like kind of abandoned, and it follows this one particular gentleman who finds his way into the Starless Sea. And okay, so this was an 18-hour audiobook. 18-hour. So that usually means about like a 500-page book, because 500 to 600 pages. So for 500, 600 pages for an 18 hours, waiting for something to happen, like it was like building up to something. Like there was all this gorgeous writing, and there was all these like stories interspersed with each other that like were all connected. And about like 75% through, I was kind of like, okay, I sort of know what's happening now. And then like I still waited for something to happen, but nothing ever did. It just kind of had this really gorgeous writing and then just ended really abruptly without ever really arriving at the destination. The journey was beautiful. Like it was like sightseeing. The journey was beautiful. I was able to look at like gorgeous views. But then I arrived and it was like a ghost town. I don't know. It doesn't. So that's where my conflicted of like the writing, like 3.5 to 4, like the writing was so gorgeous, but the plot wise was like, we never got there. I don't know. Why did I listen to this for 18 hours and we never arrived? And I still have questions. I still have so many questions about what happened and what things meant. And I still feel like I don't have any answers. Like I'm just supposed to figure it myself, which is like fine. I think there's some books that you can do that to an extent, and but there's a fine line, and I think the line was like way over there and you're like way over here of trying to make me guess the rest of the story when I really want you to tell me the rest of the story. I will say that listening on audio maybe is different than reading it physically, because physically you can go back and forth in the stories. Obviously in audio I couldn't do that. I think that also the problem is that I don't really like nonlinear storytelling. I think that's just something that I discovered about myself recently. I can like it to an extent, but when the story is totally told in that format, I usually don't care for it. I think that's also probably why I didn't care for this. Not to say I didn't dislike the book. I can see why people love it. It is definitely a fantasy favorite for sure. I know it's been pretty hyped by a lot of people, but it wasn't a favorite of mine. So there you have it. Somewhere in between 3-star, but like really it's like 2.5 to like 3.5. Like it's a range. I rated it a range of stars because I couldn't really pick one. The next 2 books I read for the Kindle Clear Out Readathon. The first one was A Notorious Vow by Joanna Shupe that I rated 4 stars. It was about Christina and Oliver. It was a historical romance. Oliver was a deaf hero, which I loved a lot, so much. It was really, really sweet. I just thought there was something really cute about it. The writing was good. There was something really unique between the two of them. Christina kind of is really compassionate about his hearing loss, really approaches him really well, and they had really great chemistry with each other. I just thought it was really, just really sweet. And I think I won't go into extensively how the deaf representation was. For those who don't, I work in the deaf community, so I have a perspective on it. It was decent. It was better than I actually expected, I will say. It wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. So there was some exceptions I had to it, but I think that'll have to be saved for another video, possibly in the future. I will say it's a decent representation. I still obviously really, really enjoyed it. The next ebook that I read was The Billionaires Wake Up Call Girl by Annika Martin. This was about, I rated it 4.5 stars. It was about Theo and Lizzie, CEO and his employee. The banter for this was just so good. I love a romance with banter. What can I say? I can't help it. She gets assigned to find a company that'll call him to wake him up and like an alarm clock, and she cannot find anyone, and in a panic she decides to call him herself, and then from there chemistry and things start happening, and it gets hot and heavy. There's some pretty sexy banter in this. Chemistry was great. The conflict was just a little bit too easy and too weak and just too like, oh, but I can't be with him cause like, I just don't really like that. But just, oh, the chemistry and the banter was so good. Annika Martin is becoming a favorite of mine. This is the second book I read of hers. I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm hoping to get to read some of the other books in the series soon. There also was a little bit where Theo, the main hero, was a little bit stalkery. Like, he tracks her down to her apartment and like watches her from like his car outside. I get why they did it that way, but also if it wasn't a hero that you genuinely liked, it was a little bit disturbing. But still very enjoyable. Yeah, like I said, it's a Billionaire series, and I'm really, really liking that series so far. That was the second book I read from that series. Although I think the book that I read was like the third book in the series. The second book I have read from the series, because they're all standalone. So, and that was the two books that I read in Kindle Clear Out Readathon. There's another book I started, but at this point I've DNF'd it. I might go back to it at some point though. The book is called 3 Parts Dead by Max Gladstone. I'll put the cover here. I got about 25% into it, and it's still unread on my Kindle for now. But again, I might get back to it. We'll see. Then I kind of started finding myself going into a reading slump, so I needed some help to get me out. I was in the middle of several books and couldn't finish anything. To bring me out of it, I started reading Teach Me by Olivia Dade. This is an ebook. I rated it 5 stars. It is about Martin and Rose, who are teachers in their mid-40s. They're both divorcees, and Martin is a single dad. And she's a plus-size heroine, and he, like, is described as having kind of like a dad bod, so he's, like, not, like, a perfect male specimen either. And it was so good. It was so good. It was very slow burn. Martin is a cinnamon roll character, and actually the reason I found this book was recommendation. I had seen so much things. She also wrote Spoiler Alert, which is like getting a lot of hype right now on BookTube and Book Twitter. Reason I got this book was because it was a recommendation from Izzy for cinnamon roll heroes, and he is such a cinnamon roll. There's just something so sweet about him. He's so patient with Rose, and I just loved their chemistry and their connection and their story so much. Strongly recommend. Everyone's reading Spoiler Alert right now, but please also go read Teach Me right now. It is so freaking good. Really, really enjoyed it. And then because I was obsessed, I went ahead and also read Sweetest and the Gale by Olivia Dade. It's her collection of 3 novellas. I rated it 4 stars. The first novella is called Sweetest and the Gale. It's about Candy and Griffin. Candy is the English teacher from Teach Me, and I really, really liked her character in Teach Me, so when I saw that she had her own story, I had to read it. Candy is, I believe, she's the English teacher, and I think Griffin's a math teacher, or he's also an English teacher. I actually don't remember. But he's hard of hearing, so not entirely deaf, doesn't communicate through American Sign Language, but hard of hearing. They reference that a lot, and I thought that was really, really good. Trigger warnings for grief, because that is something that's discussed a lot in the book and is kind of heavy. But Candy's also a plus-size heroine, and that particular short novella I rated 5 stars. Really liked their chemistry and their connection, and really genuinely enjoyed that. Unraveled, which is about Simon and Poppy. Simon is a math teacher, and Poppy is an art teacher. She is a plus-size heroine, and he's like this buttoned-up math teacher, like, has to go by the book and follows all the rules and like very structured. I really, really like their connection. Like, obviously Poppy just kind of because she's like so like flippant to the rules and so like goes by her own rule book. I love seeing a hero just like be totally undone by a female character. It was really, really good and very sexy. That one was, I mean, all of them have like sexy scenes, but that one I think in particular, there was something like really fire about it. I rated it 4 stars just because I just wanted a little bit more out of it. Cover Me was the last story. That was about James and Elizabeth, also plus size heroine, and also he's considered like a bigger guy. Content warning for breast cancer. That is something that is big in this novella story, so just be anticipated of that. It is a marriage convenience. Rated at 3.5 stars. I mean, they're kind of friends to lovers, but it happens just really quickly, and I just wanted a little bit more drawn out. Like, it happened so quickly that I didn't feel the connection, but like between like them deciding to go for it after I don't know, after they've been friends for so long. I don't know, it just seemed a little bit quick to jump into things. I still really genuinely like their story though. I think for each of these, the characters were so good, even though there were novella lengths and shorter lengths, that each of them were so good that I wanted each of them to be their own full length novel, which is kind of why I think I rated it. I mean, 5 star. I mean, obviously the first novella story, and it was my favorite. So I think I just wanted rated it the overall 4 stars because I just wanted more from each story because they were all so good. The next book that I picked up was Dreadnation by Justina Ireland. That is a Black author. That is a historical novel. I thought it was pirates. It is not pirates. It is an alternate universe zombies in the Civil War. I rated 3.5 to 4 stars. This is about Jane, and Jane is, as she is mentioned as being born to a lighter skinned woman, but her having darker skin and how that's really impacted her life, because colorism is real. And I thought that was really interesting and a perspective to take and discuss. Yes, this is a really interesting universe to be a part of. I could see like the history of things and how, like, you know, when things switched from, you know, regular history to like zombie history. There was also a friendship with Catherine, who Jane calls Kate. That's like kind of her nemesis, but they also kind of become friends. Things happen where Jane and Kate have to like team up together, and that was kind of fun to see. I will say I thought the plot was kind of meh, just because I didn't feel like it went anywhere or anything happened. I mean, I don't know, maybe I don't read enough zombie books because that's not really my thing, but it didn't seem like nothing really happened. There wasn't like a lot of development of Jane wanting to go back to her family, and that didn't happen. So I don't know what's next for the book. There is a sequel though, so I'm gonna check out the sequel. I actually have that saved in my on hold for my Libby right now that I'm hopefully gonna get in the next few weeks. So we'll see where it goes. We'll find out. I will say that the audio was excellent. Who's believe it's Bunny? I'm not sure if I say it right. The narrator for that audiobook is so well done, and so I'm really excited to and she narrates the second one as well, so I'm really excited for that reason. I think she voiced Jane so well, and honestly that's kind of what pushed it to 4 stars for me and what made it readable and compelling for me to continue reading. The next book I read as an ebook was Hard Fall by Sarah Nee. I got this from Kindle Unlimited. I rated this 2 stars. This was about Hollis and Trace, who's also known as Buzz. I don't know why males have to have like terrible nicknames. It's a sports romance. Trace is part of like a baseball team, and Hollis works in publishing. He's like part of like a baseball team that's made up. It's not a real team. I don't know. Sarah Nee is kind of hit or miss for me. I really loved her douchebag series, and I feel like I've been trying to like run after that high ever since, but she just hasn't delivered for me. I think her college sports romances are really, really good, but when she does these adult romances, the last like 2 or 3 that I have read have just really fallen flat. They sound very juvenile. The chemistry is very meh. Reading juvenile isn't like the characters read very juvenile, and this was no exception. Again, the characters seemed really juvenile. The plot just wasn't really developed really well. It's like a fake dating, but then like he brings her to his family when he's like supposedly fake dating this chick. I don't know. That seemed like what was the reason for that? Very silly. So yeah, 2 stars. I think I'll just stick with her college romances for now. Yeah, I think I will, because I don't know, her adults ones just not have, unless Unless someone has read one of her adult ones that they've really, really enjoyed. But so far, just her adult ones have not been it for me for now. The next book I read, it was on audio, that was called The Switch by Beth O'Leary. This was where a grandmother and a granddaughter switch places in their lives. So the granddaughter goes to live in like this little country bumpkin town and takes over the responsibilities that her grandmother has in the town. And then her grandmother goes to London and takes over her responsibilities in London. Not her job, obviously, because her job, like, the granddaughter, like, takes a leave of absence. And the grandmother does, the things, takes over her flat and her room in London. And it's just about their adventures. Eileen and Lena. Eileen's the grandmother. Lena is the granddaughter. I just thought it was really sweet. Lena's dealing with some grief of the death of her sister and struggling with the relationship with her mom. Eileen is dealing with being cheated on by her husband and him leaving her like 1 or 2 years before the events of the book. They're both kind of dealing with their own thing, and they both end up finding love, which we thought was really sweet, especially Eileen's story. Like, Eileen's like in her 70s or 80s, and she's like talking about like hooking up with men and having sex, which I think is so underrepresented in romance. And I thought it was really sweet, and having her own romance. And yes, I really enjoyed that part of the story. Lena's romance was kind of a bit of a disappointment. For most of the novel, she's with a boyfriend who's terrible, and there's like especially this really gross scene where he gaslights her. It was really upsetting. It was a little bit disturbing. And then like you only get the romance with her with the romantic hero with her till the very, very end. And I don't know, I just thought that was a little bit disappointing. But I still overall really liked it. I rated 4.5 stars. I thought there was still a lot to the story there, like how the grandmother like kind of is a mover, shaker in London and doing things in London to improve like the lives of seniors in the big city, which was really sweet. And then Lena just kind of figuring out her own stuff and dealing with her grief was really, really well done as well. So both stories both journeys that the characters take are really, really interesting. But just I wanted a little bit more from the romance from both of them, or at least especially from Lena. The next book I listened to was Sirius Moonlight by Jen Bennett. That was also an audio. It was about Daniel and Birdie. I rated it 4 stars. Birdie has undiagnosed narcolepsy, which was really interesting to see, and a representation that I've never come across, so I thought that was really interesting. Daniel is half Japanese. It was sweet. It was really sweet. Birdie takes a job at a hotel where she works the graveyard shift, and Daniel works there at the hotel as well. But before they even start working at the hotel, they had like a one-night stand sort of encounter, or should I say hookup encounter, and she's so freaked out by their connection that she like runs away. When they start working together, she kind of for low-key freaks out. Birdie's really sheltered because she was homeschooled, really controlled by her grandmother, but at this point her grandmother has recently passed away. So she kind of freaks out with this connection that they have, and so Daniel approaches her really sweetly, just kind of forms this friendship, and you kind of see that build this connection. So it's really, really sweet. 2 things that I didn't really like about it, and this is just me probably being nitpicky, but one of the big things was that there was a particular twist, which I knew and I called from way before, but I really didn't like how it was done and how it was handled. It kind of bothered me, and it made me really dislike Daniel when I was really liking him up to that point. So that kind of wasn't a fan of that. And I was really bothered by the fact that like the very first chapter is basically Birdie having this exposition dump about her first encounter with Daniel, and I just don't understand why that couldn't have been just like a prologue on its own. That way we could have seen their first hookup and why she freaked out instead of her just basically blah, like saying it all. I think it just would have been more interesting and a better way to tell the story. So those 2 points are the things that just kind of brought it down a little bit lower for me. The next book I read was Destiny's Embrace by Beverly Jenkins. That is also an ebook that I also rated 4 stars. That was a Black author. Beverly Jenkins is my second book I've read about Beverly Jenkins. I'm loving her so far. This was about Mariah and Logan. Mariah is a hired housekeeper from Philadelphia, and her employer, who's in California, and she takes the job all the way to California. She's been basically emotionally and physically abused by her mother, who's treated her terrible in her tailor shop. So she finally leaves her mother and, with the help of her aunt, finds this job in California. I really like how Beverly Jenkins interweaves history in her books, and not in like a lecture way, but just in like a this is the fact of the matter of what happened, and this figure was significant because, and, you know, she kind of makes these little historical kind of footnotes. I don't want to say footnotes, but like the little historical bits in between the novel and giving you a little bit more of a diverse view of history, which I really appreciate. It's California Old West. It's a Black romance. I really like Mariah and Logan. It's a little bit insta love to me. They like basically get together in a week, and it's not usually that's usually my favorite. I still really genuinely like them and still really, really like the story. And there's 2 more books out of the series that are about Logan's brothers. So I have both of them on my Kindle, and I'm excited to check them out. The next book I read was an ARC. That was an advanced reader's copy from NetGalley that I read as an ebook. It's called Love Your Life by Sophie Kinsella. It came out October 27th. I finished it actually on the 27th. So this was about Ava and Matt, who meet at an Italy writers retreat. And while they're at the retreat, they're not able to tell each other any names. They forbid each other from telling about each other and what they do. So they fall in love, have this whirlwind romance in Italy, fall in love in Italy, and then they find out that they both live in London, and they come back to London and try to continue their relationship, and things start happening from there. I really had a problem with Ava. I think she was supposed to be quirky, but instead her optimism just felt really naive. Like she just kept excusing a lot of Matt's red flags and a lot of Matt's problematic areas, and it was just more annoying than anything else. I also just didn't really think the chemistry between the 2 characters were that good. I just didn't really see the connection between the 2. And they had this whirlwind romance in Italy, but then I didn't really feel their chemistry when they got back to their real lives at all. I liked them better as people in Italy than I liked them when they got to London. To the point where I was like, is this gonna end with them together? Like, I didn't even know. And I'm still not sure with the choice that was made. So, yes, that's kind of how I feel. I will say, I think one of the things I enjoyed about it was that the cast of characters were, although a little bit silly, were fun and interesting. Also, a lot more interesting than the 2 main characters. Especially there was a connection between Nell and Topher. Nell was Ava's friend and Topher is Matt's roommate. And, like, I want their love story. They were way more interesting than the 2 leads that we got. So, yeah, I rated it 2.5 stars. I wasn't a big fan of it. It was just okay for me. The next book I read was an audiobook that was called Today, Tonight, Tomorrow by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This is about Rowan and Neil. I rated it 5 stars, and I'll go into why. It's a YA contemporary. It was a high school enemies to lovers, enemies to friends to lovers, and it takes place in a 24-hour window, which I don't usually like, but I think it was so well written and well plotted, and it was also like this beautiful like love letter to Seattle, because it takes place at the last day of school right before their high school graduation, and they are doing like a big epic scavenger hunt, and they're going all across the city of Seattle to accomplish the scavenger hunt, paired up together as a part of a team, and kind of slowly things start to come out. They've been nemesises for years, fighting against each other, and this is like a chance for them to come together and really learn about each other. And there was just something really lovely about that. And it's also a Jewish romance, which I really, really enjoyed, and was like an unexpected, like, oh, this is delightful. It was just a lot of fun. Really, it's probably like a 4.5 stars, but I'm just going to round it up to 5 stars because I just really, really enjoyed it. I just wanted a little bit more at the end, even though I know it takes place in 24 hours. Like, I just wanted a little bit more at the end, like an epilogue of them, like, I don't know, just being together for like a little bit longer. I just wanted that. Also, I would strongly recommend the audio. I thought the audio was really, really well done. And yes, I really, really enjoyed it. I definitely want to check out more of Rachel and Solomon for sure. The next book I read was a physical book, for once. It's my first physical this month. That was Night Pleasures by Sherilyn Canyon. This was about Amanda and Kirian. This is a famous series, classic romance paranormal series that's called The Dark Hunters. It's considered the first book in the series. I don't know if it was that great of a first book in a series because I felt like the world building was very confusing. It's basically vampire romance, Also not one of my favorites. But it's also mixed with Greek mythology, which I thought was very confusing. I don't know. Did we need to bring Greek mythology into vampire lore? Probably not. But it is, and it's a little bit confusing. It's kind of like, you know, made up vampire rules, which I mean, whatever. But it was really readable. I liked the connection between the two characters. I thought Kirian's backstory was kind of tragic. And Amanda, although mostly kind of annoying through most of the book, you know, was pretty badass at the end. So it was really readable. I can see why it was really popular when it first came out. I think it came out around like the True Blood, Twilight time. Like it was around that era, and that was a perfect time for this book series to come out. I actually have a couple more books from that series on my shelf that I just happen to have, so I might go further in the series and check some of the other books out. Probably not read all like 25 books because that's just nonsense. I will say I think it found it really insta-lovey, which is fine, but not usually my cup of tea. So I rated it 3.5 stars. So it was okay. I didn't hate it like I most do with vampire romances, but I also didn't really love it either. So for once, the heroine didn't become a vampire, so yay! Because that's always a pet peeve of mine in vampire romances. No, absolutely not. Stay human. Why would you want to become a vampire? It's a terrible idea. So, to sum up, what I've counted is that I have read 13 books this month, 5 of them being audiobooks, 7 of them being ebooks, 1 physical book, 2 5 stars, 6 4 stars, 3 3 stars, 2 2 stars this month. So overall, I had a pretty good reading month. 6 4 stars is pretty good. Same with 2 5 stars, so even better. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do so far. Maybe I'll add a quick thing for Midnight Sun at the end of this. Maybe I won't if I don't finish it, because that's just how life is right now. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite October book for October was. I'd really appreciate it. Or if you read any of the things that I read, I would appreciate knowing as well. If you just want to see more from me, please subscribe and hit bells and likes. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye!